This is section 1.1, operations on the rational numbers and one-step linear equations. First of all, let's review some operations on rational numbers. By operations, I mean adding them, subtracting them, multiplying them, and dividing them. Let's start with addition and subtraction. First example. So think of these as two numbers, both of them with the negative sign. When you are adding or subtracting, if the numbers have same signs, you will add and keep the sign. What this means is you will add the 3 and the 7, that's a 10, so you add, and then you're going to keep the sign because the two original numbers were both negatives. You're going to keep the negative sign, so the answer is negative 10. I encourage you to check this work on your calculator as well. So here is another example. You have a negative 5 minus 3. So again, you have two numbers, each has a negative sign, a negative 5 and a negative 3. Same signs, remember the same rule, same signs. You add 5 and 3, that's an 8, and you're going to keep the sign, that's a negative 8. So the next example, example number 3, is 5 minus 11. So here you have two numbers. One is a 5, which is a positive 5, and one is 11, which is a negative 11. So here you have different signs. One is positive and one is negative. When the signs are different, you will be subtracting and you will be keeping the sign of the larger number. So you subtract 11 minus 5 because 11 is bigger. You're going to subtract the bigger minus the smaller. 11 minus 5 is a 6. And then you are going to ask yourself which one of the two numbers was larger. Well, 11 was larger and it had a negative sign, and that's the sign that you give to your answer. So that's what you mean by keep the sign of the larger number. So now with number 4, it's 1 over 6 minus 5 over 6. This is subtraction of two fractions. Keep in mind that to subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominators, which you already do. Your denominators here match, they're each a 6. And that allows you to transfer that 6 into the denominator of your answer. All you have left to do is combine the numerators. So here 1 is positive and 5 is negative. Different signs, subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So you will be subtracting your 5 minus 1, which is a 4. Then you have to decide what sign that 4 gets. It will get a negative sign because 5 was negative and that was the larger number. When your answer is a fraction, also make sure that you check if the top and the bottom have anything that can divide each one of them. So here the 4 and the 6 are each divisible by 2. So please make sure you divide the top and the bottom by 2 and the answer becomes negative 2/3. Now let's review multiplication and division of rational numbers. So for your number 5, I'm going to ask you to divide 10 by negative 5. Well, very simple. 10 divided by 5 is a 2, and for multiplication and division, the rules are different than those of addition and subtraction. If one is positive and one is negative, and the order doesn't matter, and the size of the number doesn't matter. So the bigger number doesn't have to be negative or positive. As long as one is negative and one is positive, the answer is negative. So here it's a -2. And again, I encourage you to check this work on the calculator when you're doing it on your own. For multiplication, the same rules apply as for division. If I'm asking you to multiply +4 by a -5, that's a -20, simply because one was positive, that was your 4, and one was negative, and that was your 5. So the answer is 20, and because one was negative, the answer is negative. To divide two fractions, and this is the last one where I'm asking you to perform operations on rational numbers. So 12/7 divided by 9/7. When you're dividing two fractions, you perform a procedure that I call keep, change, flip. So what this means is you're going to keep the first fraction as is, change division into multiplication, and flip the second fraction so it turns into 7/9 instead of 9/7. All you do is multiply the tops and the bottoms. But if you find the number on the top and on the bottom that can be canceled, which here looks like the 7s can be, that makes your life a little easier. So it's 12/9. Now, remember, if 12 and 9 each have something that goes into both of them, you're going to divide by that something. It's a 3. So 12 divided by 3 is a 4, and 9 divided by 3 is a 3. Because two original fractions, the 12/7 here and the 9/7, were both positive, the answer is also positive. If you happen to have both numbers to be negative, the answer will also be positive. And now we're moving on to solving linear equations. So all of the next few questions will ask you to solve, and that means simply getting the variable by itself. So your first example is b plus 7 equals 13. To get b by itself, you have to remove the 7. What you need to ask yourself is how is that 7 attached to b? And that's clearly through addition. To move the 7 to the other side of the equal sign, you have to do the opposite, which now would be subtraction. Once you move the 7 to the side where 13 is, you're left with b equals, and then you simply do 13 minus 7, which is 6. b equals 6. Here's your number 2. 7 equals u minus 9. So here, to get your u by itself, you need to move the 9. 9 is attached to u through subtraction, so to move it, we have to add. Once you add the 9, which was subtracted from u, but we are moving it through doing the opposite, which is adding, you will have 7 plus 9, which is 16, equals u. Number 3. 3w equals 15. To get w by itself here, you need to remove the 3. 3w means 3 times w. To remove it, you have to divide, because division is the opposite of multiplication. They cancel next to your w, and 15 divided by 3 is a 5. Here's your number 4. Negative 9x equals 54. Negative 9x means negative 9 times x, so that is again attachment through multiplication. To remove, you divide by negative 9. So it cancels next to the x, leaving you with x, which is what you wanted. 54 divided by negative 9 is a negative 6, because when you divide a positive by a negative, the answer is negative. Here's number 5. N plus 2 equals negative 2. To get the n by itself, you need to remove the 2 that is added to the n. You remove it through subtracting, because that's opposite of addition. Now you get n equals, and here you have to combine the negative 2 that was already there and another negative 2 that you moved. I'm going to go back to the rules here. Same sign, we're combining two negatives. This is the rule. We're going to add and keep the sign. So I will be adding my two 2's. 2 and 2 is a 4. Because the original two signs were negative, it's going to be a negative 4. Here's your number 6. Y over negative 7 equals negative 2. So to get y by itself, you have to remove negative 7. Ask yourself how it's attached to the y. Well, through division, because over or a fraction line means divide. To move it to the other side, you have to multiply. So times negative 7. Once you do that, on the left side, you're left with the y, which is exactly what you wanted. On the right side, you're multiplying 2 and 7 together. That's a 14. And if you multiply in two negatives, the answer is a positive. So it's a positive 14. I only have a couple more to show. Number 7. Two over 3w equals 2 over 9. 2 over 3w equals 2 over 9. 2 over 3 is attached to w through multiplication. To move it, you have to divide by 2 over 3. Now you have w equals, and you are tasked with dividing 2 over 9 here by 2 over 3 here. Remember, to divide two fractions, you have to do keep, change, flip. The 2's can cancel right away, leaving you with 3 over 9. Now the 3 on the top and the 9 on the bottom can both be divided by 3. So 3 divided by 3 on the top is a 1, and 9 divided by 3 is a 3. And last one, number 8. X minus 3 over 2 equals negative 4 over 2. So here you have to move negative 3 over 2 to the other side of the equal sign. To do that, you will do the opposite, which will be addition. So plus 3 over 2. Remember, to combine fractions, you have to have the same denominators, which you do, the two 2's. You put that 2 to the bottom of your answer, and now you're tasked with combining the numerators. Negative 4 and positive 3. So different signs. I'm going to go back to my rules and show you why I'm choosing to do what I'm choosing to do. Different signs, right here is the rule. Different signs, we have to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. So I will be subtracting 4 minus 3, that's a 1, and keeping the sign of the larger number. Well, 4 was larger here, and it was negative, so my 1 will be negative. The answer is x equals negative 1/2.